'twas a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, I kiss on my wife. Just another day, the first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
Hey, welcome to the award-winning Mad Radio Show here on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever else you can catch us with me and Sam. Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Hey, John, it's been a week. I will tell you what.
I tell you, and you know what? We're here for our first responders. This is your First Responder Network. We're here all about healing our heroes. And like you said, Sam, it's been one hell of a week.
Yeah, I am still, well, I mean, look, we're still reeling from the young officer who was killed in Chicago. A lot of organizations are recognizing her and helping the family, her newborn daughter, and really helping people to understand, because it affected officers nationwide. In addition, we're up to 92 suicides. And while you and I and everybody else, you know, we wake up every day and hope that that number isn't higher, but it's trending back in that direction. Stress is at an all-time high. I was just big shout out to Dallas Police Department who had me out earlier last week. Also was speaking this morning here in Rockwall County over in Royce City, trying to help the general public understand what it's like to be an officer and be under the stress that we're under, and also talk about, though, the really good things about being in law enforcement and the resources that are available. Because as you and I have discussed numerous times on the show, getting help is not cookie cutter. What worked for me didn't necessarily work for you. Everybody's different, and really breaking the mold of health therapy, which is, the title of the show tonight, and looking to recreational therapy to heal.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And it is, I got to participate. I announced on the show, I think a couple of weeks back, that I'm now on the board of Heroes on the Water. And
yes.
It's such a blessing. I believe things happen for a reason. And tonight we're going to be able to highlight a very personal stories from a police officer and why he got involved in Heroes on the Water and the dramatic impact that it has on healing. And then we're going to talk about Heroes on the Water as an organization. So it's really quite cool.
A big thing, and you just said it, when we're all under stress and, recreational therapy, but, it brings me back to not only the video that we played in the beginning from that Canadian firefighter, and he sings that song, it's so powerful. It brings me back to Savannah Solis's speech to reevaluate your why. At this time, a lot of officers, we see a lot are retiring, early retirements, or just leaving the job for other professions because of the amount of stress that happens. And, if anybody hears my voice, listen to Savannah's speech, and it really rejuvenates why you took your job, why you became a police officer in the first place. Don't let these politicians, don't let some of the, all the rhetoric distract you on what your mission in life is and what your job is, because, reevaluate your why. You're there for a reason. You're there to make a difference. You're there for your heart and being that way. So, I was thinking about that a lot today, and I'm like, man, it sucked when I retired, but you know what? It would suck even more if I was almost forced to retire. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
That would weigh real heavy on me.
I'm smiling because while you weren't with me this morning and you weren't with me at DPD, the number one thing that I talked about was connecting with your why.
So, oh, really?
Yes. And we're wearing different colored t-shirts tonight,
yes.
but we have that, connection up in the sky because you didn't know that's what I was talking about. And I will say that connecting with your why, it will change. It will fluctuate. DPD does a great job. Every recruit class has a motto. And so that's their why. And so it's encouraging them to write it down, posting it all over your office, keeping it on your person, in your car. So when things go awry, when you're kind of by yourself and you let your mind wander and it's not to good things, you can grab that piece of paper, remind yourself. Yep. And as you and I also spoke about when we go through the first responders timeline and talk about getting up to retirement, how salty we are. And at that time, you can really make a decision to remember your why, have it transform you, and make the commitment to be better for the up and coming recruits that have just come on or the younger officers, because you have an opportunity to be a mentor. You can do it throughout your career, but if it's closer to retirement and you're just at that having that angst, remember you can always be a mentor, and it's really changing things. You can also switch if you have the ability to do training
Right.
with the officers. And
well, the big thing too is always remember, like when you raised your right hand, and and you swore that oath, right? Probably one of the most proudest days in your life, right? When you were able to swear that oath after the academy, it was
my creds.
Get your creds, right? You know what? Every 900,000 officers in the country today all took that same oath. They raised their right hand after the academy. We can't forget why we took that oath. We can't forget that joyous feeling why we became law enforcement officers or first responders, or no matter what field you are in making a difference and helping people. Bring yourself back to that moment of raising your right hand and think about it. And believe it or not, it'll make you feel a little bit better about your job today.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to let you know, the live stream comments are open. And I got to tell you, right off the bat, we've got tons of people. I mean, just absolutely commenting right now. I want to bring on our guests because a lot of comments are about them from the preview. They know. Yeah,
nothing's about me and you. Nothing's about me and you. Except
no, it's not about us ever. But appreciate the congratulations messages. So what I'd like to do is, we just talked about how you can become a mentor. And so one of our guests has been a police officer for almost 20 years. He started his career as a volunteer firefighter in New York, and he has completely transformed, I would say, the way that he looks at staying in the police department, but that healing and mindfulness aspect that must be a part of it. He is now he's a department training officer in his small department, Bethel, Connecticut. I am going to bring Lieutenant Mike Libertini on. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we've got a lot of hellos to you. And speaking of mindfulness and practicing wellness, Mike also heads up the Connecticut chapter of HOW. I think I might be getting that wrong, but so I'm going to bring on from Heroes on the Water National. I'm going to bring on Laura Armbruster. Hey,
Laura.
Guys, thank you for being with us tonight. And if it's okay, we're going to dive right in because we have got a lot of things to talk about, and it is jam-packed. Mike, you wrote an article for Heroes on the Water. It's posted on the blog page, and that's heroesonthewater.org. You've got a ton of hellos going on in the comments. Guys, you can ask your questions. Feel free. And I want to emphasize that, there is from John and I doing what we do, when we talk to veterans, we get one side of the PTS story. When we talk to police officers, we get another one. The thing that it has in common is each side says, no, it's harder for you. Okay. While we know it's different, cumulative PTS is something that plagues police officers and first responders, especially if you're in that line of work for more than 5 years. And it can be very difficult to unpackage because ultimately we want to unpackage the trauma, kind of work through it. And it really, for you, Mike, being in a small town, you've got 40 officers, a town of 22,000. I mean, that's a dream for some officers to have that hometown, that small feel, until with police work, it kind of can become a nightmare. And I want to take you back to 2009, if I could. Do you mind walking through the audience to what happened there and how it affected you?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me on your show. I appreciate it. It's good to be here and representing not only my agency in a sense, but also Heroes on the Water. So Yeah, back in 2009, I was a fairly newly promoted sergeant. I had been sergeant for about 2 years, and I had a shift working with me on a kind of dreary October Saturday in New England. And it kind of started the day before, which was interesting. Me and another officer had gotten sent to this gentleman's house, the now decedent's house, because he was having problems with his father. His father had Alzheimer's and was trying to drive the car and was trying to leave and drive the car. So he had asked us to come over and, pretty much talk to his father, take the keys away, make sure that he didn't drive. Easy enough. We go there, have a conversation with him. The father was fine with it. We took the keys away and tried to direct them to call his healthcare provider to set up an appointment. So we did that. But as I was leaving, I had a conversation with the now decedent, and he was telling me how much trouble he was having at home and that his wife was going to leave him and all that kind of back and forth. And I thought it was kind of odd. His behavior was a little off. He seemed a little agitated and kind of pacing around, but left it at that. I said to him, hey, listen, if you need anything, call us, whatever you need. So we left. So the next morning I show up for work, and in the lobby is his wife saying that he had just threatened to kill her and then kill himself. She was able to talk her way out of the house and came right down to the police department and reported it. So she's in our interview room. We're trying to get some initial information from her. And now me and two other officers, that was all that was working that day. It was three of us. We're on our way down to the house because he was reported to now talking about killing himself. And the wife did tell us that he was armed with a gun. So we get down there, get out of my patrol car, and we start walking towards the house and quickly realize that there is somebody in the woods behind the house. So that obviously got our attention, and we approached the wooded area. There was absolutely no cover. There was no concealment between where he was and us. There was a small, I hate to use the term because you guys are in Texas, but grassy knoll, if you will. So he was on the other side of it, and it was like kind of a swampy area. So, and it looked like he was on the phone. So we approached, identified ourselves, got into a conversation with him. To this day, that conversation lasted 13 minutes. And, both of you have firearms experience. You try holding up your sidearm for 13 minutes while it's pointed at somebody for 13 minutes and tell me what your arms feel like. But that was that conversation. What kind was up and down. He had remembered me from the previous day, but he had warned us that if we came any closer, he was going to take what was in his pocket, and he patted his pocket out. He was going to shoot us and then himself. So we're trying to close distance on him a little bit, still talking to him. We eventually got close enough where I was able to, I had a rookie police officer with me. He was only out of the academy for a couple of weeks. Out of field training for a couple of weeks. He was just assigned to the shift. So I had him, I told him, I said, listen, keep your gun out. I'm going to try to tase him. And I took the taser out, got within 24 feet of him, and fired the taser. The probe, he was wearing a maybe 3/4 length jacket. Probe hit his back. The other one went right between his legs. So it didn't make contact. And people who don't understand the taser, you have to have at least 2 points of contact. There was only one. The other one went into the ground. So there's no effect. He doesn't feel anything. But he heard it, and he knows that it was coming his way. So now he's getting upset, and he's starting to turn towards us. And what I forgot to mention before that was he had hung up the phone with his wife, and then he had called her back, and she was on the line while all this was going on. He had now dropped the phone, but she was still listening. She was in our interview room, and she was still listening to what was going on. So it was very quickly thereafter. I didn't even reholster the taser. I just dropped it. I took my firearm out, and I told the rookie guy who was with me, you try to tase him. So he did the same thing. Same thing happened, no effect. And now he's reaching into his pocket, he's pulling out the gun, and he's turning towards us. I, to this day, still think that he fired a round. The state police said that the gun was not operable when they did their forensics on it. But I still, to this day, not only heard it, but like saw it fire. And that was that. I fired, and he immediately fell to the ground, and we started, life-saving measures. But it was the wound that he suffered was there was no coming back from that. So, it was a lot of things happened after that, and it's funny if you've never been in a lethal use of force like that. I didn't know what to expect. Like I thought I'd go home afterwards, and there'd be like news trucks outside my house trying to talk to me and interview me. That never happened. But I had just gotten married. I literally got back from my honeymoon. I had just gotten married, and my wife. Then we were living in a condo. She had decorated the condo for Halloween, so there was like bloody handprints on the glass in front, and skeletons and it was. So the first thing I thought, I called her. I told her what happened. I said, "You got to take that stuff off the window," because I just thought like the news trucks are going to show up and be like, "Look at this murderous man," and all his stuff outside his house. So, but that didn't happen. But,
Mike, let me ask you a question.
Yeah, certainly.
And Sam brought a good point up. You have 3 officers. You have 4. You're from a 40 officer department.
Yeah.
Only 22,000 on the population, but that just goes to show that things can go really bad anywhere. When we look at big departments like New York City or Detroit or Chicago or something like that, a department as such as your size, things can go bad. So, did
things
you have
sideways quick?
Did you have anything in place? Because you said you went home, okay?
Afterwards, yes. Yep.
Right. Did you guys have anything in place back in 2009 to help you deal with what you just went through? Or was it like, all right, your shift's over, go home?
So interesting fact. The chief, who was chief of police at the time, has since retired, and we have a new chief now. Not speaking ill of our past chief, I had a good relationship with him. But he was very old school, and he was kind of the type of guy that was like, "Suck it up, let's go, let's get you back to work." And there was some good to that, because the way he handled it and the way he dealt with the state and their investigation, I applaud him for it. And him supporting me was very. I didn't expect it. Let's put it that way. I thought it was going to be different, and I was happily surprised at how it was handled. But right after the shooting, it's funny. We talk about the difference between first responders or law enforcement and military, and law enforcement is the only profession that I know of where you go from trying to save somebody's life, trying to talk them down, to getting into a situation where you have no choice. So you go from trying to save their life to taking it to literally trying to save it again. And that's what happened. I mean, we were trying to get him help. He did what he did. I did what I did. And then it was immediately like, we're doing CPR on this guy. And
now the rookie yep. that didn't fire.
Correct.
Right. Still a very traumatic scene for himself, being a newly sworn officer. Correct. Being in a situation like that, what was how did he come through this?
So he has since been promoted to sergeant, and he's one of our.
Oh, you shoot somebody, get promoted. Nice.
Yeah, well, he was
immediately.
Yeah, he wasn't immediately promoted, but he's very successful at what he does. He's also our K-9 officer, and he's sort of taking on some of the training role that I do. He helps me out with a lot. So he's doing well. However, the other 2 officers that were there certainly didn't receive the level of, I don't want to say support, but the level of, support that I did. I mean, I obviously there was policy in place of what to do if there was an officer involved shooting, but there wasn't the policies that we have now that, peer support, CIT, which is, and some other options that we have available to us now that were not available at the time. And as well as policy, the chief's policy at the time was, and not to get into a discussion about what happens to the brain and recall and memories during a traumatic event, but he was hell-bent on me writing a report before I left. And I absolutely refused. I said, I'm not doing it. I'm going to go home. I needed a couple of days. And obviously, as you guys know, there's a lot of studies out there that show at least 2 sleep cycles. They want you to have at least 2 full sleep cycles before you write a use of force report. And there's some departments that aren't even, and we're not there yet, but there's some departments that won't even require the officer to write a report. There will be an interview of that officer, and that will serve as his report, which I'm a fan of. But and doing cognitive interviews, that's kind of a specialty in and of itself. But doing a cognitive interview on an officer that's been in a use of force situation and mining for that memory recall is very important.
But you bring up another good point, man, and you're really hitting the topics that hold true to my heart. Is the other officers that were there didn't get the support as much as you.
It was treated as if, well, you didn't shoot him, so what's bothering you, kind of.
And
thing,
that's one of my big concerns is we see all these officer involved shootings now, and we're catching them on the body cams, and you're seeing 10 or 15 officers at a site of a shooting where guns are being fired, and those that aren't firing their guns are just expected to get back in their patrol car and go to the next robbery call or next missing.
Yeah, weren't really involved.
Right.
Right.
Right. And you brought it up in the beginning, Sam. We all like with physical, with the therapy, with different therapies, we're all different. We all process things a lot differently. So everybody that's involved in that, surrounding it, there's collateral damage. Everybody could be severely affected, even if you're not the one that pulled the trigger.
And to be honest with you, and throw in the dispatchers that were working that day, we worked closely together, and there was 2 of them that were working, and I don't think they really got much in the way of any help or support. And they had to listen to the whole thing, and they knew what was going on. And after the fact, I remember that one of the dispatchers had said, when I had said shots fired on the radio and asked for the ambulance, she had no idea that it was the suspect, and she thought one of us was hurt. So you can only imagine that whole thing as well. Yeah. And
great comment. I don't know, Sam, if you see that comment that just came out.
Yes, from Camille.
Yeah,
that's Camille.
Great.
Yeah.
So there's no support for the families of the officers either. The kids see the news. The families are involved as well. And yes, absolutely. In fact, Michael, you being a newlywed, only being back to work right after honeymoon when the incident happened, it didn't end there. I mean, it was on the forefront of your mind because you experienced it. Death threats. I mean,
death threats.
And you go on to say in the article that it turned into you noticing anger.
Oh, absolutely. And I would still say anybody who still knows me, I'm a work in progress. I'm not, I'm not a miracle, cured here. I still, obviously, I'm still partaking in things like mindfulness and these Heroes on the Water events. And I go out fishing by myself too, because I find it to be very relaxing and a time for me to just kind of be alone. But, the anger, the frustration, the nobody understands, the lashing out at people. It was that, and that only got worse over time. And, I'll go, I was obviously forced from the department to go to a therapist, although I didn't object to it. I went to them, and I remember, I think at the time our EAP paid for 3, and then after that my insurance had to pick it up, which again is fine. But I go to the 3rd one, and she's like, "Oh, well, you sound like you're doing really great. I don't see any need for you to come back." And I was kind of like, I just shot somebody. I came to 90 minutes of like talk therapy, and I'm good to go. All right, I'm good to go. So
go to EAP.
That clearly was not. That was not the last therapist I went to, and I've, and I'll admit I've been to several, and I don't know if you've talked about it on your radio show here, but EMDR therapy. I did that, found that to be very helpful. But to be honest with you, I find the mindfulness and meditation to be one of the strongest. And I've read some books on it. I've seen some studies on it, and they say there are some studies that say there is no greater improvement in some of these brain mapping studies that they're doing than mindfulness and meditation in the trauma associated with a traumatized brain. And they look at a regular brain, they look at a traumatized brain. And again, I'm not a doctor by any means, but the amygdala, and they're looking at the activity in the amygdala, and they see a huge difference to people who are meditating and using mindfulness as a method to cope.
Yeah.
Better than medication, I'm sorry?
Do you meditate every day?
I don't. I was for a while. I was pretty good at it. Life happens and kids, and then routines change, and but I'm telling you, even if it's 5 minutes, it's funny because the reaction. I have actually had a class here to teach some of my officers how to meditate, because a lot of them, you get some responses sometime, and they're like, well, I'm Catholic. Yeah. Okay, very good. But it has nothing. Some people think it's a religious thing, and they feel like they would be blasphemous if they meditated or something against. And that's not the case. It really is, and it's teaching it to somebody who hasn't done it is I think it's a great thing, and I think academies that are starting to do it, and they're really on the forefront of what's going on. It's unfortunate, though it just hasn't taken. It's not widespread. But right. It's gaining momentum, and I think
the mindfulness is something that is hugely valuable. I know after EMDR, the journey's never done, right? So always learning. I have my practice that I do in the mornings, and I know John was learned a lot with what he experienced out in Utah at Chateau, and it's like you get your feet under you from this incident, and then the world is now brought to small town Connecticut. And what I'm alluding to is Sandy Hook, because that was in 2012. So here you have this this suicide in 2009, and call it, suicide by cop in 2009. You're trying to process through that. You've got EAP like, hey, you're great. You're not great. You're dealing with death threats. Your family, your marriage is growing. Now comes Sandy Hook. And if you don't mind, we talked about before the show started, the human element of who we are as officers and first responders. That yes, we wear a badge. Yes, we have body armor. Underneath that, we have heart. We all bleed red, same color, and we are exposed to things that leave a lasting impression. And you said that it wasn't Sandy Hook in like the actual incident. It is something that you had to do at the scene.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that your mind goes to, and I could tell you three of them. So obviously that day, we border Sandy Hook. We're jurisdiction over. So obviously pretty much almost everybody that was working that day on my shift when it happened, I was a supervisor on the day shift. We went over there. To use the term first responder to Sandy Hook bothers me. I don't like that. I don't take anything away from the Newtown police officers and the guys that responded to that. Those are the true first responders that were there. And there was, they roll up and there's active shooting going on, and they're dealing with that and they're addressing things. Take nothing away from them. I was there within a half hour of it happening. I remember showing up and there was absolutely nowhere to park. There was cars everywhere. There's parents leaving their cars in the middle of the street. There's Sandy Hook Elementary School at the time. There's a road that goes down in front of it, and then there's like an access way, if you will, to get to the actual school that runs alongside the volunteer fire department that's right there. Bunch of police vehicles. I was walking down there, and I at the time I was very active with our SWAT team, with our ESU team, and we did multi-jurisdictional things. And I saw guys from other SWAT teams and stuff like that from around the area, and just the look on their faces. I'll never forget some of the looks on some of their faces, and you knew they had just come out of the school, and you just knew it was bad. And in speaking with a colleague of mine who I went to the academy with, who was a first responder there that day. You could just see it. And I immediately took my shift, and we started taking calls for Newtown instead of, there really was nothing for us to do at the scene. Everything was over. It was done with. So we started taking calls because obviously the Newtown Police Department was decimated. So we started taking just routine calls, and I expected Newtown is the second largest town square mileage wise in the state of Connecticut. I expect car accidents, alarms, disturbances, whatever. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And every call we went on, we did go on calls, but every call we went on was related to Sandy Hook. It was, I came home from work and my shed door was open. I think the shooter's in there. It's I heard a noise upstairs. I heard gunshots behind my house. It was all related to that. And we had another call at a nearby school that a teacher had heard something. So that prompted a huge response there. And just before I had left to go take my shift to start taking calls, we had gone into the fire department because they were using the fire department sort of as a meeting area, if you will. And I remember walking into this room, and it was like one of those things when you walk into a place and you're not supposed to be there. You're kind of like, I'm in the wrong place. I walked in, and there was just a bunch of parents, and they're all visibly upset, obviously. And the guy standing at the front, I believe he was a state trooper, he said, he yelled to my chief. He goes, "Chief, I think who you're looking for is the other room. This is the room for the parents who haven't been reunited with their kids yet." And it was like, oh my God, your head goes down. You turn around and walk out, and you're like, these people are about to find out the worst thing that they will ever hear in their entire life. And I remember that. I remember the faces of the guys when I was walking up there. And then at one of the calls I was at, I had a guy come up to me, and he said, "Hi, I am the grandfather. My granddaughter goes to this school. Could you tell me where the parents who haven't been reunited with their kids yet are meeting?" And I sat there, and I'm looking at this guy, and I had to I must have stuttered and stammered. I'm giving this guy directions to go somewhere to find out, again, the worst news of his entire life, because I knew what he didn't know, and that was that his granddaughter was dead. And it was terrible. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the guy's face, and I'll never.
There's no way you could ever prepare for something like that. There's no way that anybody can mentally prepare for that. So I mean, that's probably one of the hardest things that you've ever had to do. And my heart goes out to you, Mike. Like you said, it's not always about the blood and guts. No, it's about the notifications. It's about the knowing and just not being able to say anything at that point.
Right. I couldn't tell him anything. You want to give the guy a hug. It's like,
yeah,
I don't want to send you there. Like, I wanted to give him the wrong directions. I don't, it's like, it was just, yeah. And later on, obviously after, the media and the news, and they started releasing the pictures of the kids that were killed, I knew right away who it was, because it was obvious. But it sucked.
So, and the whole world was watching this, and you guys as a department, you personally, you knew that your mental and emotional health, I mean, you really needed to care for yourself. And fast forward a little bit, you didn't really know about fishing and kayaking and how they go together, and you happened to be somewhere and saw information about Heroes on the Water, and you called a buddy. You said, "Hey, let's do this." You went to an event, and
yes. So I actually ordered. So I got into fishing. I can't even explain really why. I just started fishing. Like I fished when I was a little kid, but as an adult, I did some surf casting. I would go and do some, inshore fishing or whatever every once in a while, but I didn't do a lot of freshwater fishing, and I just kind of picked it up and I started doing it. And to this day, I'll be the first to admit I'm not very good at it. I have a lot of stuff and a lot of equipment, and probably, I spent a lot of money on this stuff and I'm not very good at it, but I do enjoy it. So anyway, yes, I ordered some stuff. I ordered some lures or something from some online store, and in it was a card that advertised Heroes on the Water. And I said, "Oh, look at this!" And I kind of looked into it, and I had discussed it with a friend of mine about starting a chapter. And actually, I think he's on here somewhere. I'm sure he's listening. So are a couple of the people that are on that share some of the roles for Heroes on the Water for starting the chapter. They're watching as well. But and I just was like, I got to do this. So I looked into starting a chapter, and they got back to me almost immediately. And a couple months later, we were officially a chapter, and here we are. So
you are Heroes on the Water chapter coordinator for the Western Connecticut chapter. And Laura, I want to bring you in here because it's I had my first opportunity to really have a lot of touch points with Heroes on the Water at the board retreat that we had in Oklahoma, and not understanding, oh my gosh, how much really goes into running a chapter, the organization. But as Mike continued to participate and run the chapter, he understands the healing, the focus that it takes to set all your gear up and everything. And I won't rub it in, Mike, that I actually caught 2 fish, but I've never
catch fish. It's just
I've never freshwater fished either. And borrowed a kayak, borrowed I just was like, okay, let's just cast and see what happens. But the healing aspect, the being in nature, I love to be in nature and just realize that there are things that are way bigger than us, and that we can connect with that. Laura, Heroes on the Water has branched out beyond assisting veterans who we know post-traumatic stress is well, unfortunately, with what's going on in Afghanistan, it's a mess right now. But branching into the first responder law enforcement community and really embracing that same, like, hey, it needs some healing as well. What was the decision behind that?
Well, we've always really welcomed first responders in law enforcement. It's a natural alignment with veterans because a lot of times when they come out of active duty, that's their job opportunity. So we have a lot of crossover there to begin with. But what we realized in 2018 was that there's just such a need for us to be able to provide them with this therapeutic wellness program that we decided to make it more official. And so we officially opened to first responders in law enforcement in 2018, and then started really working, and you'll see more of it over the next few years. We want to do a better job of just the outreach and helping them understand, and having people like Mike on our team has been crucial because it helps us to understand the difference between post-traumatic stress and cumulative post-traumatic stress, for example. That was a big eye-opening thing for me when Mike was telling me his story. So just our ability to be able to serve that community, because it's important. And one of the favorite things about my job is that people tell me their stories, and I'm always just so blessed and amazed at how open they are. And I know for a lot of the veteran community, they're like, yes, we should absolutely do this. These are the people at home keeping our people safe while we're deployed. Right? Like it takes a village, and we really just felt like we needed to step up and make that a big focus for us. So
Yeah, and it is truly about camaraderie. When you're out there, you're with first responders and veterans, police officers, no matter what the background.
Yeah.
It's just you arrive. There may be a little bit of stress, like, oh my God, I've never kayaked or fished, and how am I going to do this? I don't want to fall in the water. But once everybody gets talking, it's like you just feel everybody kind of lower their walls. Everybody says hello. Maybe there's coffee and other things, and then it's out on the water, and it's just the word peaceful. And being and mindfulness. Mike, when you experienced your first event and really focused in on that, you knew you had to head up a chapter, but you knew you had to continue to bring this to the department. I mean, talk us through how it really helped, up here.
Yeah. So I actually, there's, I can't obviously speak. You guys are in Texas. I can speak to Connecticut and some of the organizations that are here in Connecticut. For instance, CABLE, which is the Connecticut Alliance to Benefit Law Enforcement, and they put on, they host a lot of training, and they also had a retreat every year. And I had an opportunity to go to one of their first retreats, and I think it cost me $50 for the weekend, and it was like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And they fed you and housed you, and you spent the entire weekend doing like yoga, Tai Chi, on the beach in like some, coastal Connecticut town, and learning how to meditate. And that was unbelievable. And every time it comes up, and if I encourage guys to go, it's so worth, I think it's up to $100 now, but it's so worth the experience. Just like a 3-day retreat, and they teach you how to meditate, and it's fantastic.
Mike, when you keep talking about the meditation, and I just want to touch on that, because with Laura as well, getting onto those kayaks is a form of meditation, right? Mm-hmm. And I can't stress this enough. And Sam, you brought this up. I did 30 days straight of meditation when I was in Chateau, and it's because it was kind of not forced, but it was kind of like the thing to do, and when I came home, I did it a little bit, and I felt great. And then when I stopped, Mike, you said you stopped because things do get in the way, right? Don't you feel, since you stopped, like, I know my anger, my frustration levels start rising up when you stop doing that meditation, and I'm glad you said that, Mike, because, now I know tomorrow morning, guess what? I'm going to get up and I'm going to meditate, because, it really, you need that support network. Like with Heroes on the Water, you need that connection, those people to keep pushing you, because life does get in the way. And sometimes we forget about our own mental health. We forget about our own well-being. So we need the Lauras out there to go, come on, let's go. Yeah. Let's get out on that canoe, and do something. So, I feel you, but it's a huge, huge step to keep it going. It's not an easy process. It takes time, but, you got to work on it. You can't give up on it.
Right. Yeah. And I got to tell you, John, that's one of the reasons that we, which is a little unique for Heroes on the Water, that we have all of our volunteer-led chapters try to have monthly events, and we really encourage you to come back. So it's not a one-and-done thing. We want you to come back over and over and over, because, to your point, the more you do it, really, it starts to lock in that wellness and that really help along that journey. And
right.
Now Sam can totally attest to it.
Yes, so. Absolutely. And John, we got to get you out on the water for sure. So, Mike, we have law enforcement, first responders from all over that listen. There are Heroes on the Water chapters all over the place. I'm most likely guessing that you might be a big connection point for folks, not only that have questions, but that want to just kind of talk. Absolutely. About a lot of things. What's the best way for them to reach you?
Right now, probably the best way to reach me would be via email, which the chapter email would be easy. It's Western, WESTERN .CT, like Connecticut, at heroesonthewater.org. That would be the easiest way to reach me.
All right. And if you happen to be near Mike, you'll have access to be able to sign up and participate. And then Laura,
we are having an event this weekend, the 29th. I won't be there. Unfortunately, it's my daughter's birthday. I won't be there, but we are having an event August 29th.
Fantastic.
And the other thing I wanted to say to you is we are in Western Connecticut, so I don't know of a chapter nearby in New York. So like lower Westchester County is very close to obviously Western Connecticut. So anybody listening in the lower New York area, well, just because we're Western Connecticut doesn't mean you can't come over. So
Nobody wants to kayak in the East River.
No.
No.
Not on the Hudson. No. We're not on the Hudson. Nope.
Not without a hazmat suit.
No, safety first.
Think about the speed bumps.
Yeah, there we go. Laura, how many Heroes on the Water chapters are there nationally?
56
Okay.
in 26 states. And there's a map on our website at heroesonthewater.org. And you can also email info@heroesonthewater.org and just ask us. We're always onboarding new chapters and looking for volunteers that want to start one in an area that maybe we just don't have one or is a little underserved. So definitely reach out if that's of interest. We'd love to talk to you.
Okay, yeah, because I put this on, I'm going to put this on the screen here. So here's the main where you can go to get the information, find out about the chapters. I also put the info at. So what I want to do right now, just looking at the time, is just you guys to take a minute, each of you, whoever wants to start. We're in a very critical time right now in our law enforcement communities. We've got 92 suicides to date. Really, we need to, everybody that can support needs to support our men and women out there. What would your messages to our first responders be tonight?
Mike, please go ahead.
You want me to start? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a more discouraging time for people that are currently working as a police officer and people that are thinking of following this career. And it's really unfortunate because there was a retired lieutenant from NYPD who teaches a homicide class, and his biggest slogan it was "We do God's work." And quite frankly, I don't know if there's any better description of that, whether you're religious or not or whatever. It really is. There isn't much keeping us from complete chaos, and we're really it. And people need people like us, whether they like us or not. They need us, and unfortunately, we're in a time right now where we're lower than low. I don't know what to say, but it only takes one thing, and you're back on top, and everybody's thanking you and loving you, and it's cyclical, and it's just to those who don't have much longer to go in the career, just hang in there. If you need help, get help. Ask. You're not alone. You certainly aren't feeling things that other people aren't experiencing. And just hang in there. You've given too much time to either lose your pension or to just spend your retirement unhappy. It's not worth it. It's not worth leaving the job and just being bitter for the rest of your short life. It's just not worth it. So, and for those coming on, don't be discouraged. This is still a good job. It's a great job. We speak for people who can't speak loud enough for themselves, and we help people who can't help themselves, and the world is always going to need people like that. And again, it'll change. Everything's cyclical. It'll come back. It'll come back. We're just in a bad spot right now. That's all. Yep. So hang in there.
Beautifully said, Mike. Yeah. And so from our perspective, we're here for you, right? I mean, that's just the thing. You're not alone. And I know Sam, you and John do a lot for this community. And Heroes on the Water is just one of many opportunities. And we just want people to know that to echo what Mike said, you're not alone. And this is an opportunity for you to come and decompress and unwind and sort of undo some of the things that you're feeling, especially right now. So we're here. And definitely reach out to heroesonthewater.org and check us out. And, you know, if we'll do our very best to help you in any way we can, because it's important and we want to support that community in every way.
And if you're a kayak fisherman, sign up for the Jim Dolan tournament.
That's right.
Right. And if you do currently kayak fish and you're hearing this, sign up for the tournament. It's fun.
So it's the Jim Dolan tournament.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he was our founder. We lost him way too soon a couple of years ago. So we do a memorial tournament as a fundraiser in his honor. It's nationwide, saltwater and freshwater. It's virtual. You can grab some buddies and go. You can go on your own, just do your thing. It's super easy to sign up. There'll be raffle prizes. There'll be prizes for first place. It's, you know, like I said, 7 tournaments across the United States. And the people that do it have a lot of fun. And it lasts a month. So you've got plenty of time to go and play and have a good time and, you know, try it out and enjoy it. It'll be.
Yeah, what do they call it? CPR.
Do what?
Yep. Go to the Heroes on the Water website. I believe there's a link right
it's
there.
right there on the front page. It's really easy to find. We try to make it simple.
Absolutely.
We're all first responders. We need things very simple.
Yes.
Look, I'm not, and I need things very simple, so it's all good. Yeah, I get it.
Very simple. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time, and for Mike for being vulnerable and open and really letting everybody in to not only be with you with the pain that still lasts from these incidents, but also be with you on your healing journey and the role that you've taken with Heroes on the Water. And just when we started talking about the smile on your face said it all. Keep up the fantastic work. Please stay safe out there. Laura, I will see you in 2 days.
Yep.
And I just thank you to Heroes on the Water for what you guys do. You completely opened my eyes to a brand new level of healing, of mindfulness, and that there's always more work to be done and always more experiences to be had along our healing journey. So we will be in touch soon, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Sam.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care.
Take care.
Thanks.
Wow.
Powerful.
That's incredible.
Powerful stuff. You know, I really connected with Mike on so many different levels. You know, in the beginning when he was talking about, and I think he didn't even say it on air. I think he said it as we came off air. I mean, before we got on air, was about how much sharing his story helps him heal, and that is so true. In first responders, even though somebody may not want to hear your story, the blood and guts of it, but just sharing the pain that you feel and being open and vulnerable for that, believe it or not, is such a healing process within yourself, because you keep sharing a story until you don't cry anymore, and then you're almost healed. And you know, I definitely commend Mike for being able to open up like that in a public forum. It takes a strong person and leadership to be able to do that. Absolutely. And the fact that he's able to share with the men and women that he works with and beyond, in law enforcement, it's important. And you know, that's what it's all about. That's why we do what we do with a badge of honor. I'm so happy to say that Heroes on the Water have been a partner of ours for a long time now, basically since we started in 2019, and we're going to continue that and hopefully group some of these workshops and getting people out on the water together. And it's just so, with everything that's going on, it's so incredible to have the ability to have these organizations that first take the time to understand our brains, what our jobs, what we go through, but second, to craft their programming around the number one thing, which is always healing. You know, the camaraderie and the healing. Let me bring something up about Heroes on the Water too, which is very, you know, some people are out there going, well, you know what, I was injured on a job and I can't do it, or you lost limbs, or you're in a wheelchair. Okay, come on out, because you know, we've had a Fort Worth cop here who was critically injured. She was shot in the neck about 20 years ago. She's been paralyzed from the neck down. Lisa Ramsey went out with Heroes on the Water, and she went out and she kayaked. They will help you. So no matter what your disability is, they will accommodate you. So don't feel that you have to sit home because of an injury. Heroes on the Water will accommodate your injury. They will help you out. They'll make you feel like yourself again.
Absolutely. That was important to say. And whether you're choosing to join us through Facebook each week, we've got a YouTube channel. If you wouldn't mind, jump on over to YouTube and follow us over there, and vice versa. If you're following us on YouTube, jump on over to our Facebook, which is at Mad Radio. You can just type it in the search, Mad Radio in the search, and follow us there. We post a lot different things during the week, workshops, partnerships, everything like that. We so appreciate your support, tuning in week after week, to everybody, to all first responders here, fighting the good fight here at home to keep us safe. We thank you. We're praying for you. We love you. We know you do a job where you rarely get thanked, and we want you to know that everybody here at Mad Radio, we embrace what you do every single day, and you truly are our heroes. So we're here for you. To all the troops some of them are now back in Afghanistan, we are praying for your safe return. Thank you once again for drawing the line in the sand, to not making the choice to never, ever, ever leave anybody behind. We're praying for you, for your families, that you come home safe, and for all the veterans out there, please, our hearts are with you. We know you're going through a really tough time. It's bringing up a lot of memories. It's not a good time, and we're here for you as well. Please reach out. If it's not to us, please reach out to Heroes on the Water. We get you. We're here for you. We love you. John, take us home.
Well, all I'm going to do is I'm going to echo my hero on the land, Savannah Solis, and to all law enforcement, to all first responders, just revisit your why and be safe out there.
Absolutely. Till next week, everybody. Thanks once again for joining us, and we'll see you soon. Take care.
Have a good night.